So you moved from Uncle Art's house to the house on the farm.
Yeah.
Now, tell me about Uncle Art's house again.
Were you ever in it?
No, I don't know where it is. My head, I think maybe it's north of the farm.
West, mostly.
Okay, then I don't know.
Part way to Minot.
Okay.
And then south. You know,
Right.
like we're 4 miles south.
Yeah.
Well, the farm, Uncle Art's farm was at least 2-3 miles, maybe 4, but from the highway. But it was west of the farm. It is west of the farm. I'm surprised you weren't ever in it.
I probably was. I don't remember. But what was it about the doors and the butterfly?
Well, the front porch had like a little sunroom, and it was really small, and yet it was part of the front porch. It was really weird. And it had 2 doors, one in the living room and one in the dining room that went out to it. And I know they kept magazines up there, but in the winter, you could go out there as a kid and play with toys and be real warm. But at any rate, on that door, Mother had this butterfly attached that Wayne had made, you know, a clothespin
Yeah.
and I was petrified of it. So I probably was a year and a half, maybe 2 at the most, because we moved when I was like 2.5, I think. And Mother was trying to help me not be afraid of a wrong mistake. So she picks me up and gets me closer to saying, see, it's just, I go, ah, you know, because I was just petrified of that.
What color was it?
Well, you've seen it. I've got it.
Oh.
It was yellow, but it was about this big, see. It was made out of a clothespin.
Yeah.
And it had, its wings were oilcloth.
Oh,
Yellow
okay.
oilcloth. And then they had painted the spots on it, you know, in school.
Wow.
And painted the clothespin. And I have it in my Yamiha stuff. But it, you know, it's so floppy now, I just left it.
So she shows you and it scares you.
Gets me, well, I was scared already, and she knew that. And so she was trying to help me see it, that it wasn't alive. And, you know, she was trying to see it. It's just, she was, oh, God. But that was one memory that I had from that farm, living there. And so I was probably 2 maybe at the most. I'm not even sure I was 2, because I was really little. And then we moved to the farm, and Mother said when we moved there, of course they didn't have a lot of stuff to bring, but they had a table, that round table, well, you wouldn't remember it, but anyway, they had a round table. And Mother said when we got there, I said, let's take our table and go home.
Oh.
I wanted to be home.
Oh.
Anyway.
But did you, I mean, how long did it take before you were happier there than at Uncle Al's?
Probably very little, you know, for kids. Besides, it was Grandma Shipman's house before that.
Oh.
My Grandma Shipman, see. And I spent time there, see, but
it wasn't your home.
I couldn't figure out why, I couldn't figure out why we took our table over there to Grandma Shipman's. That was probably what.
Now, why did you move?
Well, because we rented the Dickey place, or Uncle Art's, eventually his farm. And then my Grandpa Shipman lost the farm to taxes.
Oh.
You've heard that story.
No.
And he lost it to taxes, and then Pete Kraft went down to Towner to try to buy it.
How did he lose it to taxes?
Well, he didn't pay his taxes.
Oh.
Couldn't afford it.
Got it.
In the 30s.
Yeah, oh yeah, the Depression.
Yeah. And so, yeah, he didn't pay his property tax. And so then Pete Kraft went down and tried to buy it, who was a neighbor, who is Bill's grandfather.
Oh, wow.
Who now owns that
farm. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting. Eventually they owned it. But Pete went down to try to buy it. And they told him, no, we're going to give the son the first opportunity to buy it. And I don't know why they did things that way, but they kind of did. And so then Daddy went down and bought it. So then we owned the farm, see, and so he owned instead of rented, so that's why we moved there.
So your dad and mom bought the farm from
Taxes, basically, but Grandpa Shipman had been the owner.
from your grandpa Shipman, from Grandma's
In
father.
a sense, yeah. Although they bought it from Towner. They bought it for taxes.
So your mom
'Cause-
bought your dad's house. Your mom bought her dad's house.
No, my dad bought his dad's house.
Your dad bought. That's what I'm sorry, Shipman. Your dad bought his dad's house.
Yeah.
Right.
But
right.
it was,
Sorry,
basically, McHenry County owned it at that point because they had taken it for taxes.
When did they build the little playhouse?
That was part of Grandpa Shipman's farm, and what the thing I remember about that was when Grandma Shipman owned it, when they lived there, that set out maybe 10, 15 feet maybe from the east side of the house. the
Yeah.
door. And I don't know exactly what they used for it, but Grandma was out there making probably cottage cheese because there was kind of a bench in there. And I don't know what they used it for. And because I asked Mother later, was that actually out there? Because I could remember being out there with Grandma, looking up and watching her do whatever she did. And she said, yeah, it used to sit there. Well, then when we had the farm, it was a brooder house, a chicken house. That was where we had the...
When you were little, it was a chicken house.
Well, it was a brooder house, really.
What's a brooder house?
Well, where you had the... you ordered chickens from I don't know who, and they came in the mail in a big box. And then you kept them out there, and you had a...
They were like little babies?
Yeah, and they had like a brooder stove out there that they could run under and be warm. I suppose it was run with kerosene. Most everything was. And so that was where they were kept when they were little. And then you know where the chicken house was at the farm.
I can't remember.
Anyway, it was building farthest east there.
By the road?
No, that's south.
Oh, east. So like behind
Past that
the garage.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was over in there, and that was the chicken house, and then they get them moved over there. And then Grandma was the one that turned that into a playhouse for grandkids.
Oh, so it was for the grandkids.
Yeah, it was never for us.
So you were an adult by
Yeah.
then.
Yeah,
So when you moved in as a 2-year-old,
yeah, 2.5 about.
what was the plumbing and electric conditions?
Well, there wasn't any. The electricity, my dad put in the Delco plant, and that was 32-volt electricity, and he did that in the early 40s. And then I don't know. I don't remember.
So you were like Hannah's age before you had electricity.
Oh gosh, yes. That was the biggest deal in the world to be able to go down in that basement and have a light.
That cellar?
Yes,
The
the cellar.
cellar's so scary.
Well, there wasn't, it was just like, ooh, boy, you could turn on a light and go down there. That was like wonderful. Because Beverly and I would do the same thing.
But what did you, it must have been the main house must have been a big deal having lights.
Well, sure. But, at least they had windows, so in the daytime you could see, And you could see there was windows in the basement, but it was pretty dim. But
But what about plumbing?
there's Lynn.
What about plumbing?
Oh, plumbing, she's looking for a list. Plumbing, we got in about 1952.